got the Texans fan by the podcast. Chuck Bridge, Fifth Ward Crenshaw, you know the best out there. Keno, Bo Diggity 713. To all my Texans Nation. If you feeling good, I want you to throw them H's up high. Yeah, like that. I see you. Let's swarm. Yeah, Houston, Texas, born and raised. Yeah, that's where I'm from. The best city in the state. Yeah, we stay turned up. There's excitement in the air for the Houston Texans. We swarming all year, causing havoc, we wrecking. Coming off that edge, we got 5-5-5-1. Thing on the outside, locking down your number one. All about the swarm mentality. And the H, standing on business is the way we operate. I rep that 7 like CJ, that 1 like Diggs, that 3 like Dale. H-Town, we doing it big, you know that 12 out here, and don't you never forget, better pick your poison, cause we got Joe in the midst. We rock that battle red, still blue, Liberty white, H-Town blue, drip galore, man, we so fresh, fire like the field. Shout out to the whole squad, chasing greatness, eyes on the prize, one goal, it's time to take it. Let's get it. Throw them H's up, throw them H's up, now you throw them H's up, throw them H's up, we throw them H's up, throw them H's up, let's all love for them Texans, cause them Bulls about to perform. Throw them H's up, throw them H's up, now you throw them H's up, throw them H's up, we throw them H's up, throw them H's up, let's all love for them Texans, cause them
Yo, and welcome back to the Texans Fan Battle Podcast. I'm your host tonight, Matthew Briggs, and always, I got my team swarm with me. We got a special guest, but let me introduce you my co-host. As always, with me, he's been here since the bottom, and now we're at the top. We got Mr. Fifth Ward Crenshaw.
What up? What up? What up?
All right, guys, and like I said, we got a special guest from the Draft Network. If you watch anything draft, you know this guy very well. We got Mr. Justin Melo. And just to let everybody know, we are gonna let it slide that he's wearing these Titans apparel on the show today. How you doing, Justin?
Doing well. It's been a long week. It's fun to put the NFL draft in the rearview mirror, and now it's time to analyze each class. Houston Texans got some interesting players.
Yeah, well, let's start off with that with the bang. We traded out of the first to get a couple more picks in the second round. So I'll let you start off. First of all, I know a lot of people don't like it, and I think it's a little silly too. But off the bat, what grade do you give the Houston Texans?
Well, that's tough. I think I'd probably go with about a B minus, C plus, roughly. Something surprised me. I thought they would focus on the interior of the offensive line, maybe a bit more than they did. That's a huge concern for me still, based on the moves they've made or haven't made this offseason. But certainly a lot of those picks were on the offensive side of the ball, trying to prioritize and make sure they have enough around CJ Stroud. It is certainly a sentiment that I understand and agree with. But yeah, certainly, I think they got some good players. It'll be interesting to see how they plug them into the lineup.
All right, I think that Titans biased a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. This is giving me crap. Crenshaw, what would you give the Texans grade right off the bat?
Yeah, I give it a B plus. I still got to see how everything's going to get put together with the new offensive coordinator and everything. But I said B plus because we need a lot of weapons on the offensive side. Because last year, once Nico went down, we really didn't have nothing on the offense. So picking up Higgins and picking up Noel is going to be huge. The Woody guy, I don't know how much he's actually going to play, but I like it. And then the tackle that we got, I think he's going to be solid. I'm curious to see what Melo has to say about him.
Yeah, before we talk more into the draft, I would have to give it a B, maybe B plus, just because to me there's better talent out there, but they got the guys who they thought fit their scheme and their personality. So I can see why. But so Justin, Gershaw has a good question. What was your biggest head scratcher for the Houston Texans draft?
Yeah, like I said, for me, it wasn't a single pick that they made. I think it was the lack of focus on the offensive line. I know they went there with their first pick But for me, I'll be honest, and you can call it Titans, whatever. But
No.
I know. I just thought, I've had a hard time understanding the strategy up front. This offseason, I thought, last year, facts are facts, right? I think CJ was sacked more than any quarterback in the NFL last year. And, trading Laramie Tunsil was one that was a bit of a head scratcher for me. I know he's getting up there in age and he's not cheap, but I think he's a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle, was certainly the best piece they had up front. And when you're in a championship window, and I think the Texans should consider themselves to be in a championship window, I think they got a good football team. I don't quite understand, moving on from a franchise left tackle like that when you've already got issues up front. And then, the interior is what I'm most confused by. I think the strategy there, I'm sure we'll get into that at some point. But to kick things off with the first pick, Ariante Ursary, they trade back. I thought that was a fair deal for both sides. Like I've been asked on different radio shows, who do you think won that deal? I thought the Texans got what they should have, and I thought the Giants gave up what they should have. I don't think the Giants, gave up more than they should have, and I don't think the Texans got less than they should have. I thought that was a fair deal for both sides. And then, going with Ursary, I'm not surprised they went with a left tackle there again. Trading, Laramie Tunsil created a hole there. I'll say the best thing about that move is, they're not going to force him to play right away. They bring in Cam Robinson to be sort of a band-aid solution. I think that's really important. When I watch Ariante Ursary, I think there's a pro-ready frame, pro-ready size and athleticism. There are a lot of aspects about his game that I like. Some of the things that concern me a little bit is lack of discipline in his hands. I think he's very inconsistent when it comes to his hand fighting. And he tends to get a little over aggressive in his sets, and that leads to him playing off balance. He's prone to oversetting, and then when you overset early, you play off balance. And D linemen at this level, they'll punish you for that. So that's something they're going to have to work with him on. I'm glad for CJ's sake that he's not going to start right away. I imagine it'll be Cam Robinson in week 1 at left tackle. They're going to be eager to see him, and I think we'll see him at some point this year. Cam's had some injury issues. I don't think he makes it through a full 17-game season totally unscathed. So, ideally he's healthy early, and they get to work with Ariante, behind the scenes on correcting some of the technicalities in his game. But their hope is they drafted him to be the left tackle of the future, in my opinion. So hopefully we'll see him at some point this year.
Okay. And then what about the addition to Jalen Noel, Higgins?
Yeah, I'll talk about both receivers. I liked both of them, coming in, and I was surprised they went receiver, doubled down on receiver as early as they did. They clearly don't want there to be a shortage of weapons around CJ Stroud, and I get that, right? But certainly they probably got a bit more aggressive than they need to, but it's a good problem to have, right? It's having an abundance of pass catchers is never a bad thing. So with Higgins, I'm curious to see where he fits. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I know Nico Collins is versatile and can move around. I consider him to be more of an X, boundary receiver. And I think that's what Jaden Higgins is, at his size. So interesting to see how they fit both of them into the lineup consistently, or if they even do fit both of them. And, I think when you pick Jaden at 34 like you do, you're planning to play him, and you're planning to play him early. How he gets on the field is what's my biggest question. Because, again, are you moving Nico around more than you did last year? Are you asking Jaden to play a different position? I think both of those guys are ex-receivers, so I'm curious to see how they fit. With Jalen Noel, I think the fit's a lot easier for me to understand because I think he's a slot, more likely than not. And with the injuries that Tank Dell has run into, which is such a shame. I loved that guy coming. I did a great interview with Tank Dell that year that he came out, and he gave me the best interview out of anyone. He's just such a dog and such an impressive young man. I've been really torn to see the injuries he's run into. I think Jalen Noel's great insurance for that, especially coming off his second serious season-ending injury now. I think if he's not ready to start the year, which he might not be, Jalen will give them quality snaps out of the slot right away. This guy, he went later than I thought. The Texans got terrific value. He tore up the Senior Bowl, Noel did, and then at the Combine, he was one of the most athletic receivers in attendance. I thought he was going to go where Jaden went, 34th, 35th overall. So really good value for Houston there. Easy fit into the lineup. The other questions: what does this do to John Mechie and Xavier Hutchinson? I think this pushes them way down the depth chart, maybe off the team altogether. John Mechie, especially, I have a hard time seeing how he fits into the plans this year. But it seems like to me, it feels like the actions of a team that maybe hasn't seen enough out of those two guys specifically, and they're ready to kind of reset with some rookies that have some higher upside.
Okay, Crystal, what do you think about that? What?
Sorry, I can't hear you again, Chef. You were.
Did you?
There we go. I think I got you now.
Hello? You hear me? Okay. All right. Well, first on Melo, do you think they figured that maybe better coaching on the offensive line, maybe they can work with what they have? Maybe that's the reason why they didn't get so aggressive in the draft on offensive linemen?
It's a possibility. I just think for my liking, it's a risk. It's a bigger risk than I would have been willing to take when I've got the franchise quarterback who I think is an unbelievable quarterback. And when you have him sacked as many times as he was last year, I expected that to be a bigger priority this offseason, right? And for me, I'll tell you, two moves, I was not a fan of at all. And I think, any level-headed person would agree. I do a lot of Seahawks coverage. I can tell you firsthand, Laken Tomlinson was not a good football player last year for the Seattle Seahawks. He had a really, really rough year at left guard. To bring him and Ed Ingram in, they were two of the worst performing guards in the NFL last year. That surprised me that was the two moves they made on the interior. The jury's still out on Juice Scruggs and Jared Patterson, right? Like I remember, when they drafted Juice, there was a lot of surprises around the league. I think he was top 100 pick. A lot of surprises. They took him where they did. I had scouts had a 5th round grade on him, and then with Jared Patterson, I think it's been okay. Not bad. I thought they would have done more inside this offseason. And that was where their biggest issue was last year, right? They protected the edges pretty well. Larry Tunzel and Titus Howard are phenomenal tackles, right? It was the pressure up the middle that was killing them. So, they didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't draft a single interior lineman in this class. To go get Laken Tomlinson, who, by the way, is already about, 32, 33 years old. And again, is coming off a really bad year in Seattle. I don't know that there's much left to explore there at his age. And then Ed Ingram, was really bad in Minnesota. So it did surprise me, the strategy this offseason up front. It's not one that I fully comprehend.
Can you hear me now, Justin?
Okay. Go
ahead, Crystal.
All right, and then all right, and then two more on the receivers. Okay, one, do you see Noel playing the St. Brown role for the Lions? And Higgins, is there a particular wide receiver currently in the NFL that Higgins remind you of, so Texans fans can look out for?
Yeah, great question. Sorry. The first part of that question was,
does Noel, can he be the same?
The first part of the question, do you see Noel playing the St. Brown role? Like, can he be that type of player on this squad?
Gotcha. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know that I would go with like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I do think he's going to be a good contributor. He won't need to be as high volume as Amon-Ra is, because Nico Collins is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. So I don't quite think the volume will be there, but they're going to like this guy a lot. I spoke to him. I got to know him really well throughout the pre-draft process. He's a great kid, and he's got some versatility to him. He could move outside and play the Z as well. I don't think he'll have to do that a lot in Houston, because I thought Christian Kirk was a good pickup to play that spot for them this coming year. But Noel's versatile. He's going to play slot. He's going to play Z. He wins with short area quickness, right? What was it, like 42-inch vertical at the combine, 11-foot broad, like just outrageous numbers. He was uncoverable at the Senior Bowl. Like you can't. He's such a matchup nightmare one-on-one, especially when you get him in the slot. The key is you want to hide him from press man coverage. That's not one of his strong suits. When he's playing outside and those corners get their hands on him, that's where he gets a little inconsistent. But I don't think Houston's going to do that a lot. They hired a great offensive coordinator that's going to understand the skill sets of all these receivers. I think you put him in the slot, you hide him from press coverage, which they'll do. And once, you create that separation between him and a nickel corner at the line of scrimmage, he's going to just create easy separation. So I see him playing an immediate role in Houston, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I kind of think the reason why we went both so back to back, so close together, was because the last 2 years around the playoff time, the only player that we could rely on was Nico Collins, and we've seen how that happened. Yes, Xavier Hutchinson was a rookie last year or 2 years ago, but last year he fell short. Mechie, he falls short. So I think injuries was our biggest issue. So I think that gives depth because, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Kirk he's been injury ridden. Nico Collins has not played a full season since he got here in Houston. So adding more depth makes sense in the long run, right? So it gives
Yeah.
them more weapons. So
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, like as I said, the last thing they want is a shortage of weapons around a quarterback as talented as CJ, and I don't think it's going to be an issue this year. You know, I still think one or two of those receivers are probably going to be moved out before the season starts, like a John Mechie. But you know, the depth right now, they're loaded at wide receiver. They're loaded at the pass catcher spots. That's going to create good, healthy competition in training camp. They're going to push each other, and whoever wins those battles are going to be CJ's go-to targets this season.
absolutely. Keno, you got a question for Justin about the draft?
Sure, yeah, I asked a quick question. How do you feel about y'all defense coming up this season with the Titans, Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I think it's a work in progress. You know, it's they don't have enough talent on the edge. That was their biggest weak spot last year. They had third fewest sacks in the NFL. You know, coming into this offseason, a first-year general manager, I think it was pretty clear that they weren't going to be able to address all the holes they have on the roster. They just had too many of them, right? They inherited, you know, just a bit of a shit show, in all honesty, from the previous GM. Edge is probably going to be a sore spot this year. That's not one I think they've done enough to address. And you probably couldn't have when you use number one on a quarterback. If they wanted to address edge, they probably would have had to pass on Cam Ward, which they obviously weren't going to do, nor should they have done so, right? So I think edge is the one that got pushed down the board a little bit. They're going to start the year with Arden Key and Draymond Jones starting at defensive end. Neither of those guys are a disaster, but the way that I put it is, you know, they're both like high-end number threes. You know, neither of them are a legitimate number one, so they don't have a one at that spot. They drafted an edge in the second round in Femi Oladejo, who's a bit raw. You know, he didn't move to edge until the middle of this past season. He was playing off-ball linebacker. So that's going to be a developmental guy, but they're going to ask him to probably, you know, play some snaps right away based on the lack of talent they have. They got some questions at linebacker as well, and I think it's another position they're kicking the can on because it's not a premium spot. They feel great about what they've got at defensive tackle, you know, as they should. Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat are a very interesting pairing, and they've got depth there too in Sebastian Joseph Day, who played well for them last year. And then at corner, you know, they got to stay healthy, but if they do, they're pretty good. You know, L'Jarius Sneed obviously had a down year last year. It was a really tricky quad injury he had. The expectation is he's fully healthy and ready to go. They promoted Jarvis Brownlee Jr. to start opposite him. He was a total steal for them in the 5th round last year. They got a great nickel corner in Roger McCreary. And their depth is okay at corner as well. You know, a Darrell Baker played really well for them last year, totally unexpectedly. They drafted a corner as well. So they like what they have at safety. Amani Hooker probably had his best year that he's ever had last year, career high in interceptions. They drafted a safety in the third round. They're really high on in Penn State's Kevin Winston Jr. Texans drafted his partner a bit later, right, in Jalen Reed. And they signed Xavier Woods in free agency to kind of be a Band-Aid solution for them. So, you know, the defense I think is missing some quality at edge, and that's going to hurt them a lot this year. But they like what they've got at D tackle. They like what they've got at corner. It's just going to take some time to fill out the rest of those spots.
Okay. Well, Justin, we know you're short on time. So, Kendall, do y'all have any more questions about the Texans draft before we let them go?
Yeah. I just want to know what did he think of, like, for us a wide receiver comparison to
Right.
Higgins in the league.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't love making comps. I'm not great at that. I think most people aren't, but I think there's a little T. Higgins to his game. You know, he's a big-bodied boundary guy, right? Like, you want him on the outside. You want him winning contested catch situations one-on-one. He's got terrific body control, right? If you've ever even seen a highlight package, he's acrobatic, right? He goes up and contorts his body at the catch point. I always say one of my fun sayings, he turns those 50-50 balls into 75-25, right? It always feels like he has the advantage because he's great at high pointing. He attacks the ball at its apex. He's one of those old school, big bodied X's. That's why I was trying to understand the fit with him and Nico. I think they're, can play the similar spot on the field, but Nico's so good. You can move him around no matter what. But I think Jaden is pretty limited in the sense where you want him playing X. I don't think he's a slot, and I don't think he's a Z either. So it'll be interesting to see how they fit him into the lineup. But a mid-tier T. Higgins comes to mind when I think of a player comp. I can do a couple more minutes as well, Briggs.
Okay. So I have a question for you. A lot of Texans fans were kind of scratching their head about the trade up to get cornerback Jalen Smith. You probably could say the Texans have the best secondary in the whole NFL. So what was your thoughts on, and can you see the reasoning of drafting Jalen Smith when they did?
Yeah, I think the way I usually approach this is I trust DeMeco Ryans when it comes to secondary players. They've knocked these picks out of the park every single year. Jalen Smith's a damn good football player. He's a little undersized. I think that's probably gonna force him to play nickel at the next level. They've got talent at that spot already, so he's probably gonna be a reserve to start out. But when you're a defensive-minded head coach like DeMeco Ryans, and he knows this, no secondary makes it through a season unscathed. This is a long season. Guys are going to get hurt. They go down. He wants depth at those spots, and he found it in Jalen Smith. Really, really good football player, instinctual, a lot of ball production throughout his career at USC, is aggressive, is great when playing forward. He wants to attack the ball, attack the catch point. Even though he's small, he's aggressive in man. He's got great zone eyes. Again, that's where, when he's in zone, he could use his instincts to trigger downhill and attack at the catch point. So just a damn good football player. And DeMeco Ryans will be the first to tell you can never have enough of those in the secondary.
Yeah, I agree. And also when players like Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie, when they got hurt.
I lost you again there, Briggs. Sorry.
How about now? Working now?
Good. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, when we lost players such as Jalen Petrie and Kamari Lassiter, the defense did take a hit. So adding a piece like Jalen Smith, it helps with injuries. Like I said, it seemed like this draft was plan A, B, and C for Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans. Like what if Nico Collins goes down? What if Jalen Petrie's hurt again? What if does that seem like that to you, or?
Yeah, I think it's similar to the conversation we had at wide receiver, right? You just want to be prepared for all scenarios. As you said, they lost Lassiter, they lost Petrie, and no matter how good no matter how great of a coach you are, and DeMeco Ryans is a great coach, you need talent, and you need talent in that scheme. That's an aggressive scheme. He puts a lot on those players' plates, and they've done a great job answering the bell when healthy. But when those guys went down, they took a hit. Naturally, those are incredibly talented players. So they just want to be better prepared for those scenarios this year, and having a guy like Jalen Smith's going to help them do that.
Okay. Pat, since you came on late, do you have a question for Justin before he has to get off of here about the Texans draft? Can't hear you. Well, all right. Keno, do you have any questions for Justin before we let him go?
No, sir.
No, well, yeah, I got one more. So, in closing, where do you see the Texans record at the end of the year, and where do you see the Tennessee Titans record at the end of the year? I know that we only in April, about to be May, but just early on, what do you see?
I mean, the Texans should be favorite to win the AFC South, right? They're in a championship window right now with a franchise quarterback who's on a rookie deal, right? So yeah, they've been aggressive, rightfully so. They've taken advantage of that by adding big money players. When CJ's deal kicks in, that's going to have to change. But for now, they're playing things a smart way. You can go out and get a Danielle Hunter, right, and things of that nature. So I think they should be favorites to win the AFC South. I don't know that they've done enough this offseason to kind of elevate themselves to that, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills stratosphere. I think that's where they want to get. The offensive line is still a concern for me, obviously, but I think this is probably an 11 or 12 win football team again. As long as they stay healthy, I think they'll be right around where they've been, the last year or two. With the Titans, they don't expect to be the disaster that they were last year. Certainly 3-14 is not good enough. I don't think anyone's foreseeing them to take a step that gets them into playoff contention per se. They still got a lot of holes. Of course, Cam Ward is the caveat there. It's obviously not likely, but if he has a Jaden Daniels-like rookie season, then anything is possible. I think the more realistic expectation is he looks very good and they win 6-7 games, right? They double their win total from the year before. They show they're ready to take a step, and they go into next offseason saying, hey, we're very thrilled with the performance we got from our rookie quarterback. They did a great job investing in the offensive line. The Titans have to protect them. They brought in a right guard, and they upgraded 3 spots this year, starting spots this year on the offensive line, so they should be pretty good there. They don't have enough at receiver yet, unless one of these rookies they hits big immediately. But they feel good about the offensive line. They feel good about the running backs. They've got 3 good tight ends on the roster. So I think they win 6-7 games probably and go into next offseason saying, hey, now we're just a couple pieces away from being a 10-11 win team, we think. We got to get an edge this summer. We've got to get a wide receiver. We know what we're investing in the first round. They'll have a lot of money in free agency again to be aggressive if they'd like to. But certainly the Texans should, going into this year, should certainly be better. The Texans should be better, of course, than the Titans going into this year. And they should win the AFC South again.
Well, you gotta love to hear that if you're a Texans fan, especially when it comes to the Titans, right? We gotta love it. Well, Justin, man, thank you for coming on. We gotta do this again, but maybe next time a little bit longer. Tell everybody where we can find you on social media and what you got cooking. That way we can support you.
Yeah, Twitter at JustinM_NFL. A lot of content on the Draft Network. I interviewed 221 players who were in this year's draft class. If you're a Texans fan, go over to thedraftnetwork.com, hit the search bar, type in Ursary, type in Knoll, type in Higgins. I interviewed all of them. I interviewed, by the way, I interviewed Woody Marks. I interviewed Keontae Hamilton, who I thought was your best steal in the draft. I was a huge fan of that Keontae Hamilton pick out of Rutgers. I think that's one hell of a football player. One of my biggest sleepers in the entire draft. I love that guy. The tape is downright dominant at times, and he was put up freaky numbers at the pro day. Texans knew what they're doing with that Keontae Hamilton pick. I interviewed all of them. So if you're a Texans fan and you want to learn more about them, and you should, head over to thedraftnetwork.com, type in their name into the toolbar. You're going to find my exclusive interview with them where I talk about their skill set, talk about X's and O's, what kind of scheme they like to play in. You're going to really enjoy reading those interviews. I guarantee you that. And take the mock draft machine for a spin as well. We just relaunched that thing. It's a lot of fun. We already got it for the 2026 draft. So you can hop on there and mock draft for 2026. And the scouting reports as well. We had scouting reports on more than 300 players. So if you want to learn more about the skill sets of these guys, we got them all up on the website. So head over to thedraftnetwork.com and take all those things for a spin.
Well, Justin, thank you. And we'll definitely check that out. Appreciate you coming on the show. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you again, okay? All right, fellas. Everybody, again, that was Justin Melo from the Draft Network. Kershaw, let's keep it going. Let's talk more about this draft. Well, what's your key thoughts about
it? Well, you said my key thoughts, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
I know you got the bag of flaming hot Cheetos, right? Like it's gonna get spicy.
Well, okay. I remember before the draft, Keno said that we're gonna draft all offense. I remember he was saying that a lot, and we pretty much went offensive heavy in this draft. But we got to get weapons. We got to get weapons for CJ. Now, I like what you said earlier that Nico is always hurt, and by the time the playoffs come around, we only have one receiver. So there's nothing wrong with doubling up on the receivers. Like
You cut off there,
I
Crenshaw.
mean, I like
You cut
everything he
off.
did.
You cut off there. What was the last part when you said double off receivers? And that's a big pause, by the way. But what were you saying? Well, I guess he didn't like that pause. Pat,
What's up, bro?
since you jumped on late, well, tell us what was your thoughts on this draft so far?
All right, so I'm gonna kind of pick up, okay, with Crenshaw back, but I was actually gonna pick up on what bro said. This was like one of, in my opinion, one of our biggest offensive kind of drafts that I've seen in a while, really in the Nick Casario era. Um, and to come back on your other point, Briggs, when you were talking to the guy with the Titans, a lot of the pieces I feel like were depth pieces, especially towards the back end. I do like Jaden Higgins. I think that a lot of people are underestimating him. I think Jaden Higgins is gonna make a big impact. I know a lot of people wanted the other
Luther
guy.
Burden.
Yeah, everybody wanted Luther Burden, but I'm pleased with Higgins. So I think this was a pretty decent draft. I'm a wait and see, but I did like the double receiver pickup. I thought that was nice.
Crenshaw, can you hear us? Are you back, Crenshaw?
Yeah. I
Okay.
hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
Finish what you're gonna say before you hit that pause moment.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I was saying like we have so many injuries on in our wide receivers. There's nothing wrong with doubling down and getting back to back receivers because I don't think Michi's going to be here. I think Xavier is going to be. I just hope these guys healthy, bro. I just hope these guys want to look with healthy wide receivers. I see in college with healthy wide receivers what he can do. I want that to translate to the NFL as well. But like I said, I still don't know my offensive coordinator that good to know what he's going to bring to the table. I mean, I have a thought, but I don't know, what's going to happen until I actually see it and everything. And then as far as that tackle that we got, don't rush him out.
You cut out there, Crenshaw. Well, Ken, I kick it off to you. You've been wanting
Cut
to.
out.
What's that? Well, while we wait on Crenshaw to get his audio back, Ken, I kick it off. You've been one of the big supporters of Jaden Higgins. Were you one of the few that liked the pick, or were you more a Luther Burden guy?
I'm gonna be honest. At first, I was a little confused. Um, but then I had to do my research, of course, and then I looked more into Jaden Higgins. And honestly, I knew about Jaden Higgins before we even drafted him, but I kind of like just fell off in a way because I felt like, man, I don't think we would get him because he more kind of comparison to Nico, but at the same time, they're kind of different receivers. If that makes sense. Like, just in my opinion, like Nico is more versatile. You know what I'm saying? He can play in out, you know what I'm saying, the S to Z or whatever. At the same time, most feel like what's his name? Higgins can do the same thing, but I think Nico is more of a playmaker than Higgins is. Nico can get the yards out the catch. Nico can bust for 70. You know what I mean? I feel like Higgins is more of a possession receiver, but at the same time, he might break. You know what I'm saying? Might break for 5 to 10 yards after a catch. But at the end of the day, I didn't see that coming. I did want it Luther. I was kind of mad. I was like, man, like Luther was there. Like, why didn't we get Luther? But then I was like, all right. So when we drafted the tackle, I was cool with that. Then I saw when we went with Jalen Noel, I heard about Jalen Noel like maybe in February or January, and then I was like, oh snap! So they went double. Like they literally got a guy that can play the slot. You know what I'm saying? That's fast, explosive. You know what I'm saying? That can break. Pretty much that can literally do what Tank Dell does. And so I was like, oh snap. So we got two receivers that do different things. So that's a plus. So I literally got over that Luther stuff. I was like, man, forget it. You know what I'm saying? We got a big guy that can, you know what I'm saying, do the 50-50 balls. Great. Both of them got great catching radius. So that's a plus. So that's when I got over that Luther situation. But as far as the draft overall, I love the players that we got. I watched the Nick Casario interview with John and he was like pretty much all the guys was in the Senior Bowl. So that's like, okay, so we got some guys that's they're not veterans, but you know what I'm saying, they played college for 4 years, so they got some season on them. So they've been through a program, or whether they left and transferred, whatever the case may be, they've been in college for 4 years. So that's a good thing. And then also Nick felt like that you can learn a lot about these guys when they do go to the Senior Bowls because they're going against other top guys, you know what I'm saying, that are seniors. So at the end of the day, I love what Nick did. And then the D tackle we got, I checked him out. Pretty nice sized guy. Of course, a type of nose tackle that we've been wanting, even though we've been wanting to kind of like higher, you know what I'm saying, like first, second, or third round. But at the same time, this guy seems like he can be pretty decent. He can come in, you know what I'm saying, be a rotational guy. Not saying he's going to start, but who knows what the future may hold. But overall, I love what Nick did, and I know me and Kershaw had some differences on when it comes to Higgins, because Kershaw said that somebody is comparing Higgins to Xavier Hutchinson, and I totally don't think they're the same player. They're just me personally. They different sizes, you know what I'm saying. Higgins is more of a, you know, he can go up and get the jump balls. You can throw the ball up to him. He's his catching radius is obviously is better than Xavier Hutchinson, and he's also a little bit faster than Xavier Hutchinson. So I'm honestly excited about Higgins. I think like him and Nico together, and then of course we got Christian Kirk, then Noel coming off the bench. I think these are going to be some great weapons for CJ. At the end of the day, our guys got to stay healthy. So that's the only thing I'm looking, and most thing I'm excited about, man, is Nick Haley. Like him giving CJ the keys, and also like telling CJ, hey, if you see something at the line and you feel like you need to check it, check it. Like you got the keys. Do what you need to do. And we obviously didn't see that the past 2 years. Why? Because Bobby didn't give CJ that, you know what I'm saying, the keys. He didn't give him the leeway to do that. Didn't give him the authority to do that. And we wonder why we were so
One
you know what I'm saying? Like everybody knew what we was gonna do because CJ wasn't able to auto anything. So
right.
yeah, man, I'm just excited really to see. Of course, we know how this defense is gonna look, but I'm really excited to see how these weapons gonna turn out for CJ.
All right. Before I ask you a couple more, Pat, this question is for you. Do y'all think they're going to keep Mechie with the new draft picks? Do you think Mechie is the man out?
Man, Mitchie is gone, bro. Mitchie is cooked. And I know everybody on Twitter, you know, he got this little, you know, this little cold-like fan base. It's about 2 or 3 of them, you know, that just love Mitchie, bro. Mitchie is gone. And I even say this, even with Xavier Hutchinson, I like what Nick did. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in your teammates, boys you played with, and I'm going to let them put pressure on you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I think that's the whole point of doing this for us, you know. I'm gonna bring somebody in there that's gonna have you on your toes. Cause if not, you out the door too. I think Nick at this point is saying in the organization, saying, look, we ain't got time. We gotta get CJ these type of weapons. You know, we lost Tank, Stephon Diggs out the window. It's time to load up. So John Mitch, it's been enough time. It's been enough time. You know, I love Mitch. He came in, you know, I know he dealt with a tough situation. He had a lot of obstacles to get over. And you know, prayers up to him, salute to him. But hey, we trying to win championships. You know, we really didn't see a lot of improvement from Mitch. So I really think, you know, if this we'll see it during camp. You know they're gonna talk about it. You know, we're gonna hear some words, some rumbles. So we'll know if he lose that spot. So I wouldn't be surprised though if he gets traded or something, for sure.
Like right. Like it's an amazing story, right? Like it's emotional. Like it's inspirational. That he beat cancer. He came
Right.
back and tried to play football. But at the end of the day, this is the business, and we're in the business of winning. We're in the business of winning championship. And if you can't help us get there, sorry. Like Thank you, but it's time. It's time to move on. Like I hate to be that guy, but look, man, having sniffed the AFC Championship game and what 20? This is gonna be the 23rd year of the franchise. Come on, like, bro, it's time. You know what I mean? It's time to quit being a nice guy. Like everybody was upset about the Joe Mixon trade. Oh well, he has drama. Or he beat a woman. Blah blah blah. Look, man. At the end of the day, I'm tired of these Boy Scouts. They can only do so much. Like I'm tired of the feel good story. It's time to win, and this draft kind of solidified it, right? Like we all been saying, it's you got to play to get your spot. It's no more your spot's given. Like you gotta go out there and you gotta win it.
Yeah, and I like how Nick said too at the presser. He trying to build, and I don't know if people paying attention, bro. Nick is building a team full of crash shots on the field. These young, hungry guys that's gonna lay flat on both sides. Cause he doing it not only on defense, but he want them same kind of dogs on offense. And it's like you said, Breeze, these feel good stories, these old, these Disney Channel movie. Look, that's cute, that's fan, that's all nice and dandy, but look, we trying to win something. So salute to Mitch. He love Mitch, but I think it's been enough time.
Yeah, I mean, what 3 years?
Yeah,
I mean, I know 1 year was taken from him, but I mean, like again, you got a business. But yeah, man, I agree with you. Like at that presser, Nick pretty much said nobody's job safe, right? There's only like a couple of handful. CJ, of course, Nico Collins with Joe Mixon. But on offense, nobody's job safe. Like Dalton Schultz, his job is not safe. Nobody on the offensive line. Like everybody wants to throw a fit about Nick Casario's offensive line. What's the word I'm looking for? What he thinks they about evaluating skills.
Right.
Well, 2 years ago, we were top 15 in the offensive line. Who came up with that line? I think Nick Casario did. And what was it? Yeah, that's right. It was a whole bunch of makeshift players that only had 1 year deals. And guess what? We got the same thing going. Like it is win your spot or you're gone. And that's what I love. And this draft just solidify that. And plus, this draft also, like I said earlier, they're playing for Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Oh shit! Christian Kirk's out. Jalen, go out there. Be Christian Kirk. Or Nico Collins is again out for 4 games. Higgins, there you go.
Exactly.
James Petrie, you're out for the season again. All right, James Smith. They got dude. We're playing chess. Like I know people are gonna call me homers, but again, just look at it. We're playing chess.
Yeah, it's like, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So I think we're at that point now. It's like, look, we've seen, we dealt with injuries and having to makeshift offensive lines and try to scramble, practice squad wide receivers. I think, and then a lot of the players that come in, they give half-ass effort. They just call it what it is. Everybody don't have that mentality of wanting to go in and win and give it their all. And I think everybody just fed up. So I'm with you.
Yeah. Keno, what's your whole take on this draft? What do you thought?
I agree with y'all. I definitely, when it comes to Mechie, I don't know if he's gonna get cut or released. I just think he's just gonna be on a roster as a special teams guy. You know what I mean? Like he's not. I don't know what type of money he's making, but it ain't a lot. And when, of course, we lost to Robert Woods, the Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell most likely gonna be out for the year. We got us 2 guys, but Mechie just seemed like bumped down. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to take a back seat unless you. And here's the thing: like he had good training camps. He done got a guy cut at I can't think of his name right now. What's the cornerback? That went to the Steelers and then we brought him back. Can't think of his name.
Desmond King.
Desmond King. He got Desmond King cut by
Yep.
shaking him off his, you know what I'm saying, and causing him fall and all that type of stuff. He done made plays in training camp, but it's like, bro, when it comes to the game, what's up? Like when it comes to the season, what's up? Like what's going on? And I understand he been through what he been through. So it just is what it is. This is a business. And like I believe Nick, ain't nobody's job safe. Titus Howard, your job ain't safe, my boy. You
Facts.
literally got 1 year left on your contract. You gonna show something for us to extend you, or we just gonna say, all right, bye bye, like move on, whatever the case may be. And I love the competition. Like Nick talked about that in this conference today that was releasing. He just talked about it's a lot of competitions, a lot of people worrying about. I'm not gonna say a lot, but some people are worrying about the offensive line. But if you look at it, it reminds me of CJ rookie year, where we had all these guys on 1 year deals or 2 year deals, and Tussle and Titus was out, and that O line was eating, was balling. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not worried because it's a lot of competition. And when there's a lot of competitions, dudes step their games up. A lot of guys on this line 1 and 2 year deals. Cam Robinson, 1 year deal. Titus Howard got 1 year left on his contract. We got other rookies. I mean, not rookies, but on their rookie deals. Like, so it's a lot of competition that's gonna be going on. And then the guy that we got from I think the Seahawks. I think
Thomason.
he's just a guy in there, just kind of lead, and I don't see him starting, to be totally honest. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of competition that's going to be going on. But this offensive line, and we need that. Then the rookie we got, I'm excited about him. I think he's going to play guard first, and then the year after, he's going to go to left tackle. I see that happening. That's just what I think is going to happen. And I'm just excited overall. I'm excited to see what's up with Nick Haley. Like, because I love the way he talking. You know what I'm saying? I love the way he carried himself, and I'm just excited to see how he's going to scheme, what his scheme is going to be about. I can't wait to go to these training camps. Can't wait for the preseason, just get a little taste. And then, of course, when the season get here, which, of course, we got a couple of more months, it's going to be exciting, man, just to see, like, all right, CJ, how great you are. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, I'm just excited overall. I'm excited for this team. Like I said, I was kind of a little worried with that first pick, but then I did my research and I kind of like calmed down. You know how when you want somebody on your team, right? So it's just like sometimes as fans we get a little mad, like, dang, bro, the guy I wanted was there, and we took this guy. We can't be like that. You know what I'm saying? We got to calm down, take a deep breath, relax. You know what I'm saying? Just look into it before we really react to the situation. Because a lot of us was pissed when we traded back. I get it. You know what I'm saying? You have a draft party and you trade out of the first round. That's how some people feel. Like you had a draft party on Thursday and you trade out, and it's like, bro, like you had fans show up for no reason. Unfortunately, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I'm excited. I'm excited for these players.
Yeah, like I get why people are upset, right? Like I get that. But like we keep saying, like Nick Casario, Nick Cayley, and D'Amica Ryans, it seems like they are getting a group of people with the same mentality, right? Like that swarm mentality, like that dog mentality. And if they're not there on the board, then why reach? Trade back. I get it. You're not gonna like it, but get some more picks and wheel them deal. Like I
Yeah.
loved it. I thought it was a good move.
I just wonder that we trade back because Golden got picked. And to be totally honest, I know I was on the golden train, but then I kind of backed off. And I was low key happy, like, man, I'm glad we didn't get him. And then you double and get Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. So it's like, man, like, shoot, who cares about Matthew Golden? Like, that's just me. That's how I was thinking. Who cares about what's the other guy? Imuka. Like, it is what it is. We move on, and we got some guys that can be promising. Who knows? We have to wait and see, of course, the season. But I definitely got high expectations in a way. Not high expectations, but I feel like these two players are going to be special for us. And because of the way how they are, they charisma, they head down. Jalen Noel, he already engaged. You know what I'm saying? So he locked in on, you know what I'm saying? Like They
Right.
moving like grown men. You know what I'm saying? They ain't on no childish stuff. Like you can just tell like they mature. And then like I spoke about the going to the Senior Bowl, like they've been in college for 4 years, and you can tell that they are mature and they
Mm.
understand what they need to do to get the job done and to continue to grow because they literally grow throughout college. Their numbers grow. You know what I'm saying? They got better throughout their whole career in college. So I'm just excited to see what the future gonna hold with these two receivers and also the tackle that we got.
Facts, right?
Yeah.
You got anything to add, Pat?
Yeah, man. Really, bro. Just to piggyback on what we've been saying. It's crunch time. It's crunch time. As much as a lot of us probably people, well, the others don't want to admit. The Titans picking up Cam Ward. That was a nice move. They letting it be known that look, this is what we trying to do. We trying to rebuild and start. Jaguars picked up Travis Hunter. All right, cool. It's time to get serious. It's time to load up. Like I still feel like the division is ours. To lose either or, but it lets you know that look, competition, people still trying to load up too. Teams are still getting rebuilt. Teams are still trying to fight for their position. So we ain't got time to be sitting around playing around. If you want to be here to win, hey, you got to have that dog mentality, that swarm mentality. So I'm just glad that is we really, because if you really think about it, a couple years ago when D'Amico first came, he said that he wanted to, build this type of culture of what we starting to see right now, to where you can only be a specific type of player to even come to Houston. Like if you ain't got that swarm mentality, we don't even want you. So it's starting to show now. So I like what we got going, bro. It's gonna be a live season.
Well, like you said though, right? Like if you look back at the history of the AFC South champions, right? The Titans, they won back to back, but they really do nothing, right? Like they didn't continue to build off of that.
Mm-hmm.
They just kept reusing the tread, and okay, well, it'll fix itself. The Jaguars, same thing. After they win the division title, they didn't do nothing. They just said we're just going to sit back and run it back, and
Yep.
because that's the thing about playing the AFC South. You can do that and still get away with it, but eventually you're going to have a team. Okay, we got it clicking like the Texans. They
Right.
they built it. Now the good thing about the Texans are they're continuing to build. Just like you said, you don't fit that mentality, you gotta go. Oh, Bobby Slug, you don't adjust through the game, you gotta go. Larry Tunzel, you don't want to be a captain, you gotta go. You know what I mean? So like,
Mm-hmm.
because eventually one of these teams are gonna click and build a team. But we're there already. We're continuing to just improve, not just to win the South. It feels like that's all we're doing, but they're constantly improving to make sure, hey, that championship window is not as far as we think it is. Like, if we win 12 games, that's good enough for a number two seed. That's good
Yeah.
enough to stay. That's good enough to stay at home, keep me out of the cold. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what we need. So, like I said, I'm pumped, just not just because of the draft, because of when D'Amico started, we seen what he was talking about, but now we finally see what he's talking about. Like
Right.
he finally got the players to fit this mentality. I mean, the defense, dude, it's the number one defense. Now, if the
Hands down.
offense gets right, like bro, you're talking Chiefs caliber. We just gotta get it right.
And
Yeah.
look, and yeah, I'll go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just gonna say, man, I'm really one guy. Of course, it's crazy. I said the same thing last year, but one guy I'm really gonna be locked in on at training camp is Titus Howard. Like, let us see if Tussle really had that much of influence on you, and let's see if something changed with him. I want to see a dog mentality. I want to see that swarm mentality. So that's one thing for sure. Like I want to see how the Titus Howard. But hey, if he don't show it, you might get cut. You might get traded. Something gonna happen. Something gonna shake.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good
absolutely.
one. That's a good one, man. Titus Howard. Yeah, he I'm with you on that, bro. He gonna have to show up and show out because it's like you said. I feel like when it came down to Laramie Tunsil, that was his, the quote unquote the protege. That's his,
Mm-hmm.
the big bro. So he gone now. So you're the veteran, I guess you would say, on the O line. So, but at the same time, look, if you're not with it, man, I could already see it, bro. They gonna get him gone. So you right, Kenneth. I'm gonna keep some eyes on Titus.
Yeah, I'm definitely. At least they giving him a chance. Like, hey,
Right,
what you gonna
right.
show us?
And this kind of sound cliche, but the one I'm keeping an eye on is CJ, right? Like he finally got the keys to the car. Like the
Hey, look,
OCs,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah, I'm excited. I'm really, really excited about CJ. Man, CJ has been locked in. Like I'm not even gonna talk about that. I can't talk about that. But anyways, CJ has been locked in. Like Nick Casario said, he's been in the facility. You know what I'm saying? Locked in, learning, really trying to take advantage of this opportunity. And how we felt last year, I think is really gonna come to fruition this season coming up. Because we thought he was gonna be that MVP favorite last year. But this
But
year, I'm not gonna say MVP favorite this year, but I do see a level of all right. He's him. You know what I mean? Like we know he him, but we really gonna look this season gonna show us like, yeah, CJ like that. Like he finna get that bag and hopefully he can take us to the promised land.
so, but this is the only thing I need to ask from all fans. Okay, look, just because he's throwing interceptions in training camp doesn't mean he's having a bad camp.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
if you want the man to throw interceptions, that's where you want him to throw interceptions is
Mm-hmm.
camp.
mhm.
I do not want to say, oh well, he didn't get out of the slump. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see that stuff. All right,
Man, I
so,
don't even think I know people want to call it a slump, but me personally, I just think it was a little step back, if that makes sense. And
look,
we were just so predictable. So the numbers
like
weren't as bad. Yes, he went up on the interceptions, of course, but other than that, man, like I mean, in the playoffs, he showed up. So I'm not
look,
worried about CJ. It's just all about this scheme, and of course, the whole line that they come out there really battle it out and may the best man win, like Nick said. Whoever the best, you starting. So that at the end
look,
of the day, that's what it's all about. This O line and the weapons are there. So that's not a worry at all. The O line, we need this O line to be a top 10, top 15 O line, honestly.
we don't. You're top 15, right? Like you don't even need top
Yeah,
10. Like you just
yeah,
need middle of the pack. Like you don't need
yeah.
nothing special. Just keep my quarterback upright. Now this is. I'm glad you brought that up because this is what I really want. I want the same mentality that the Houston Rockets have right now against the Golden State Warriors. I
Mm-hmm.
want the offensive line to have the same thing. Like my quarterback gets hit, my quarterback does something that it's not supposed to.
Right.
It, it better be war, right? It better be like
Yeah.
an all drug out. Like every person better be Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler getting their ass kicked. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no more friendly, no more friendly BS. Like let's
Yeah.
get that mentality. Like I don't
Yeah.
need. Oh, I'm going to sprain my toenail. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
gone. Let's get it out of there and let's move on.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything to add before we go, fellas?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good,
Um,
bro. Yeah, man. I think this season gonna be it's gonna be tough, bro. Like I think these guys, we got some tough young kids in the locker room. They got, they got a chip on their shoulder, And then we got to remember Jalen Petrie about to come back. Um, man, look, it's gonna be a show, bro. It's gonna be a show. I'm excited about this season for sure.
It's crazy
Yeah.
how Jalen Noel said that he would love to go against Derek Stingley, and here do you know they teammates now. Derek, you know what I'm
Man,
saying, did that iron sharp iron. He tweeted, quoted that video, and then Noel did it right back. So it's we got some dogs, man. Like that's
Look, to
just
be
exciting to know we have dogs. We added dogs, and we got dogs on this team. So they
mhm.
definitely gonna be fighting and trying to make each other better. So I can't wait to see the
well,
final product.
like the rule, like the goat Kobe Bryant says, to beat the best, you got to beat the best, right? So, like,
Hmm.
Jaden Noel going against Derek Stingley, the only way to get better,
Mm-hmm.
right? Only way to get better. So, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Fellas, the schedule comes out in a couple of weeks. We're almost there. We're one step closer. And it seems like they're getting the grass cut, they're getting the paint
Mm-hmm.
ready. Like, boy, and the draft just makes it even better. Uh, all I gotta say is trust the best. Just let Nick Casario cook. All right, let Nick Casario cook.
Hey, that's the new one.
Uh,
Trust the best. Yes, bro.
just believe in it, baby. That's all you gotta
Yeah.
do. Like, chip
Hey,
back,
we got
be
some
loud.
fans out there that's on the fence with Nick, but of course, like he done had some questionable moves. It is what it is. We got to move past that.
Back to
Um,
back. That's all I gotta say
it,
is back to back. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
back to back,
Yeah.
and not only just that, man. Like you got to be excited about this upcoming season. Like
Guys.
honestly, you just do. Like, and then not only that, it's not over because more things can happen. You know what I'm saying? The trade deadline ain't in June and nothing like that. So we still got some time to add more pieces. You never know what may happen. So yeah, man, it's excitement for sure. And
Bro, I
everybody
be
gotta get over the
forgetting.
past, man. Yeah, we traded the second round for Stephon Diggs and he gone. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We gotta let that type of stuff go. Let's move on. You know what I'm saying? Let's just move on.
For
Fellas,
sure.
you know who the last team to win the South more than 2 years in a row was?
The Texans, right?
The Colts in 2006.
Okay.
It's time for the Texans to
Whoa.
rewrite history and
Okay.
go for a three-peat. You know what I mean? It, and I don't even care for the three-peat. Just get me to the AFC Championship
Nah,
game.
forget that, bro. We
Yeah.
we 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 need the three-peat and we need the second of first seed. I ain't got time for the 10-7, 9-8.
Nah,
That's done.
As long
We
as we
gotta
get to the
elevate.
promised land, brother.
It's
It
gonna
don't
be
matter.
so hard. Listen, this is how I think. I told y'all this already. We have to be the first or the second seed to get to the AFC Championship. We just have to. The other good teams is cold. Let's go on and let that run through Houston at least, or at least the second seed. We need it. We just need it because that betters our chances. It just is what it is. It betters our chances. Unfortunately, everybody in the doggone AFC besides us is cold around playoff time. So it just is what it is. We're gonna have to do what we gotta do, man, to get that 1 or 2 seed.
Yes, sir. Well, fellas, with that being said, like our wise brother Crystal says, this is the worst part of the show because it's the end. Why don't y'all tell us where we can find you on social media, what you got cooking, so that way we can get supported and do what the Texans do, win. Kendall, I'll start with you, brother.
Y'all can follow me at Here Ken Out, man, on YouTube and Twitter. I've been cooking up some videos, man. I'm gonna react to draftees that we just drafted. You know what I'm saying? They highlights. And just to give a little excitement, so y'all can check me out on YouTube and follow me, subscribe on YouTube and follow me on Twitter. And go continue to support Texans Fan Battle. Follow us on everything. You know what I'm saying? We still swarming. Support the music videos, support the song, continue to listen. We might got some new stuff coming. You never know. So stay tuned and go Texans. And shout out to the Rockets, man. We get this win tonight. Hopefully we win Friday and can force a game 7. Go
B,
Houston all around.
BTA, baby. BTA. All right, Pat, what about you, brother?
Yeah, man. Y'all follow me on Twitter, Texas CTV. Same thing on TikTok. Now we got the Instagram page going. I just gotta get everything, just get my pictures and stuff up on there. But we back on schedule now. I know I've been missing and actually last couple weeks, man. Hey, I'm letting all the ops know, Jaguar fan, type fan. Hey, y'all in trouble, bro. Y'all in trouble. I'm back out here. It's finna get hot, Also on the music still, I got the new tape finna drop pretty soon. So y'all be on the lookout for that for Powder Food. But besides that, man, y'all go support us, man. This the best podcast. I know people don't want to say it, but man, this is where it's at. Before I even came out here, I was already tuned in. I was already subscribed. And this the only one I was subscribed to, just being honest. It's always a pleasure with you guys, bro. And hey, we're gonna swarm, keep giving y'all that good content.
Absolutely, I love it. I love it, man. You got me pumped. You got me wanting to go out there and play football, brother.
Nah, for
Man,
real.
real and always Make sure you follow our brothers Honcho at H Town Honcho 713, and then our boy Crenshaw. He's having technical difficulties, so he had to leave. So make sure you follow that. You follow me at A1 Day One Texans, and like the boys said, man, follow the podcast. We're growing tremendously in the last couple of days, and it's nothing but up. The goal is 5K everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. OnlyFans, I don't give a fuck. Whatever it is, make sure you follow. Let's get us out there. But next week we have Reggie from In the Loop, from John Lopez and our fan Piggy Fig. So make sure you check that out. And I know we've been saying it for a while, but we will drop the content of Texas Tea Time with Texas Tea. Here Ken out. We're gonna get them all popping. So make sure you're on the lookout for that, because, like the song says, we the best podcast out there. You heard from Texas Tea. So make sure you check it out. Till then, stay blessed. Like Kendo said, belt to ass Rockets. Support H-Town, whatever you do. H-Town till I drown. Let's go. Let's get that done.
I'ma calm down. Once we chop it up, there's an H-Town anthem, so we gotta slow it up.
This the best podcast known to man. We been raw. You heard it here first from Keno and Fifth Ward Crenshaw.